from the Boston Museum of Science. Sci-Tech Today on NECN.
In Sci-Tech Today, a Harvard chemist makes a sophisticated medical diagnostic tool out of a piece of paper. Alex Fiorentino joins us live from the Museum of Science. Welcome, Alex.
Thanks, Chet. Thanks for having me.
I understand this technology was named by MIT's magazine Technology Review as a top 10 emerging technology. Now, who came up with it and how does it work?
Well, those are all good questions. For starters, this technology was listed in MIT's recent April edition, in which they named top 10 emerging technologies. The research was done by Harvard chemist George Whitesides, and Dr. Whitesides does a lot of work in the field of bio-nanotechnology.
All right, how do you diagnose a disease with a piece of paper?
That is a very good question. So you can think of basically most medical diagnostics that you or I would use today involve a lot of high-tech, expensive equipment. But George had the idea of starting from the bottom, basically, starting with something simple, cheap, and light to make. And that material ended up being paper. And so the way the MIT chemists diagnose the disease with that paper is through fluids. Most medical tests have something to do with fluids, and paper actually absorbs fluids, as I'm sure you know.
Sure.
So if I take this little piece of tissue paper and I drop it in my little puddle of water here, the water moves right across the tissue paper. And the key thing here is that it doesn't require any outside power to do that. So what the MIT chemists figured was they could control the flow of fluids through the paper. And they did this by creating little tiny millimeter-sized channels in the paper.
How come there are separate channels in the paper? They were created or they're just kind of there?
That is another really good question. So that's basically just so they can control many different tests at once. So I've got a little demonstration that goes along with that. This is basically a large-scale version of their chip, and it's just a piece of paper, and I've got a mask in front of it. So I'm going to spray this with Scotchgard. And you can see the Scotchgard goes everywhere except where I have the mask. Now, we could wait for this to dry, or I could just take this one that I did earlier, which I have here. It looks just the same as a normal piece of paper, but if I drop this in my pool of water and let it run, you can see it runs in channels. It runs right up through those channels. That is pretty much what the MIT researchers wanted to do as well.
So it doesn't take very long, and the results could be almost instantaneous.
Excuse me, yeah, that's right, the Harvard researchers. But yeah, that's right, they could be almost instantaneous, and you could get a result in a matter of minutes. I've got actually one of their prototypes of their chips right here, and you can see it looks a lot like my bigger version. It's got 4 channels and 4 wells at the top. And in those wells, I put chemicals that react with protein and glucose. So these wells over to your left, they will turn blue-green in the presence of protein, and the wells to the right will turn red in the presence of glucose.
Okay, let's see that.
Can you see that right here?
Yeah, but did you put, I can't quite make out the colors.
Oh, that's right. So if I start this up, I'm going to run the test right here, and I've got 2 drops. So the drop to your left contains only water, and the drop to your right contains both glucose and protein. So it should change the color of all the test strips.
Okay, beginning to see some color on the right, but not on the left.
I hope that's the case. And so basically, you can see it's happening really fast. Just the fluid runs right up the channels and into the wells where it reacts with the chemicals.
Now, could this process be used to bring down healthcare costs?
It hopefully could. So far, it's really at the beginning stages, but they're hoping to use it both for countries out that don't have good healthcare systems in developing nations, and also in our own country. They're hoping to be able to use this technology to do diagnostic tests cheaply and with lightweight materials, and also for very little money.
All right, very interesting. And you can find out more about paper diagnostics and about the other top emerging technologies of 2009 named by Technology Review at the website technologyreview.com. Alex Fiorentino, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Chet.
From the Museum of Science in Boston. Remember to join us every Wednesday night at 5:30, Wednesday afternoon, I should say, every Thursday morning at 9 for Sci-Tech Today. Tomorrow, the ancient artifacts of Asia, what we can learn from the discovery of silk artifacts from 4,400 years ago.